Now to highlight X and Y, we can wrap X and Y in extra text elements, in extra text components. And this is something we haven't done up to this point in this course, but it is something that is absolutely fine and which you can do with React Native. A text component actually can't hold too many other kinds of components. For example, a text component should not really wrap a view. But a text component can contain other text components. So having a text component besides the plain text in another text component is allowed and is absolutely something you can do. And what this allows us to do is add different styling to this text than to the rest of this text. So therefore here, I'll add another text wrapper around the Y. And then we can prepare some styles for this text in general and then for the X and Y texts. Now let's start with the text in general. For this, I'll add the summary text styling property. And here I just want to set the font family to Open Sans. That's basically all I want to do. But then I also want to add a highlight styling object here, where I set the font family to Open Sans bold, so that we have some bold text, and where the color is set to colors primary 500, so that we assign a color to that text. And now we can use these styling objects to style the text and the texts inside the text. The wrapping text receives the style prop to assume the style's summary text styling. And the inner texts that wrap X and Y receive style equals styles.highlight. Both these texts receive that. And we could again create a reusable component for that, but here this is also pretty reusable since we assign the same reusable style to these two text components. With that, we now got this summary text below this image. Now, when I look at it, I'm not totally happy with that. To make this a bit prettier, I actually want to increase the text size. So on the summary text, I'll ramp up the font size to 24. And now this is bigger. And please note that the text that's nested into another text element also is resized. This is not inheritance at work, but instead this is related to how this is compiled to a native component internally. If we have a view that contains a text and we add a font size to the view, it would not affect any nested text elements in the view. Nested text elements inside of other text elements, however, are affected by the text-specific styles you do set on the parent text component though. So when we set a font size on the outer text, the nested texts are also affected. That in the end works as you would expect it to work, I guess, and it's definitely worth noting that it works like this. So now we have this styling. Centering the text would also be nice though, so I will also add text align center here for the summary text, so that this is centered like this. Now last but not least, below all of that, I'd like to have a button that allows us to start a new game. So below this text, I'll add the primary button, which therefore of course must be imported from components UI primary button. And then on this primary button, I'll say start new game. And we will later add the onPress prop to trigger some function that does start a new game. When we save this, we have this button here as well. And now maybe some spacing would be nice. So on that summary text, we can actually add a margin vertical, so margin top and bottom of 24 maybe. With that, there is some spacing between the button and the text. And actually, maybe we just want margin to the bottom. Now that I look at it, yeah, I think that looks nicer. So now we have that. We have this game over screen finished, at least regarding the styling and the layout. But what's missing is, of course, that data, how many rounds we took and what the number was. And this button is not working. So that will be the next steps we will work on.